Today we have a very special guest. He is a real estate investor, a 8-figure serial entrepreneur. We will be talking about why businesses typically fail.
People don't understand or underestimate the effort it takes to build a business. It's super simple to create an LLC. In some states, you can do it in 2 days, costs $250. Now you have a company. But that doesn't mean you know how to run a company. That doesn't mean you know what it takes to run a company. It's eat what you hunt at the beginning. It's draining. It is you spend countless hours without anyone saying like, well, great job or so. And a lot of people just simply give up.
Get ready for the next iteration of you on your path to becoming wealthy. On this show, you'll get the insider's view on wealth creation, the class none of us got taught in school, with my co-host, daughter, and beginning investor, Sophia Bosch. And now, let's get started.
Welcome to the Becoming Wealthy podcast. I'm your host, Sophia Bosch, and today we have a very special guest, Jack Bosch. He is a real estate investor, a 8-figure entrepreneur, actually serial entrepreneur that has built teams across the board. He is also the host of the Jack Bosch Show, and he is my dad. So welcome to the podcast.
That's my favorite role right here. Hey, Sophia, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. How was school?
It was good.
All right.
Yeah.
So ready. You just came back from school and let's get going. Okay, what are we doing?
So we will be talking about why businesses typically fail. So there's actually some statistics around it that within the first year, 20 to 25 of small businesses fail.
25%?
Sorry, yeah. And then after the first 5 years, nearly half of them fail. And then at the 10-year mark, almost 70% of them will have failed by then.
Wow. Yes, I totally understand. And I get it why. Entrepreneurship is not easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering, what are the 3, or maybe a couple, but maybe just 3 biggest mistakes you see within businesses when they conduct their business and that eventually leads to their failure?
Okay, well, it's a good question. So luckily, most of our business has succeeded. So we didn't fall into that category. But I would think the first reason why is really people don't understand or underestimate the effort it takes to build a business. The thing is, like, it's a great idea. Yes, so let's go out there. Let's create a business. Great. Let's create an LLC. Actually, in the US, it's super simple to create an LLC. In some states, you can do it in 2 days, costs $250. Now you have a company. But that doesn't mean you know how to run a company. That doesn't mean you know what it takes to run a company. So I think very simply, a lot of people underestimate the effort it takes to get a business off the ground. So and I think if you look at it, business has a few factors in it, few components in it. You gotta get sales, first of all. So you gotta become somewhat good in marketing and sales in order to get customers.
Well, you need a product.
You need a product. And that's actually where most people start. They're like, they have a product idea, but then that's where it dies. Because they create a product, but then either the product, that's probably already one of the reasons, nobody needs the product. Like,
Yeah.
I remember we had neighbors when you were itty bitty across the street. They came up with the idea of having a tie for a bottle of wine. And it's kind of like
It's cute.
it's cute. It's something that if you give a bottle, instead of putting it in a bag, you put a tie on it.
But the more,
But then again,
yeah.
how many people are going to spend $15 on a tie for a bottle if they can get a 99 cents bag that looks better?
Yeah, the
Right?
closer you get to necessity, the more you have a chance of.
There we go. Yes, it's necessary to put it in a bag, which is cool. A tie is a nice kind of gimmick. You do that but you're not going to buy a $20 bottle and put a $15 tie on it. And
Yeah.
that's what these ties cost. So they had a great idea. It was a gimmick. Everyone in their friends and told them. Nobody wanted to tell them it's a crappy idea. So everyone told them it's a great idea. Yes, totally. And then they went in and they mortgaged their house and they had an entire container of ties designed and done and shipped from China. And they probably still have those ties. because it just didn't go anywhere. So one problem is the product. So first,
Do you feel
product.
a need
Do you
or
feel a need? Is it really something? Does it really solve a problem?
yeah.
I always like to say, like, nobody buys anything just for fun. Everyone buys anything. Anything you ever bought is to solve a problem. You're hungry? Restaurants. They solve the problem of making sure that you don't turn into a lion, like a hangry lion, right? That people don't eat each other and fight each over food or so. They solve the problem of feeding people. Clothing solves the problem on a basic level of staying warm. And then of course but then the other problem is the next level is of fashion is like it solves the problem of wanting to stand out from others, like
Or
someone
fit in.
or fit in with others, right? But either way is a solution to a problem.
Yeah.
There's products out there that just simply don't solve a big enough problem, and as a result, they don't have a market. So that's
Okay.
number one. And people get excited with their own product. They get excited because their friends and family are like want to be supportive, and they tell them it's a great idea. And then they have a product that just doesn't have any market. However, you can even get a mediocre product to have to be successful if you understand sales and marketing. And I think that's the next thing. Now, some people have a product and they don't know where to go with it. They don't know where to sell it. They don't know how to go about it. They don't have any more budget.
Yeah.
They're not willing to go door knocking. I mean, if you hear about Kentucky Fried Chicken, the guy went to 1,000 places to see if anyone wanted to license his crust for his chickens.
Wow.
And at 1,000 places, finally, one person said, yeah, okay, I'll try it. And for every plate of chicken that I sell, you get 10 cents. And that was the beginning of Kentucky Fried Chicken. So in other words, the guy never gave up. He went to 1,000 places, and most people are not willing to do that because they're used to the employee world where somebody else provides the sales for you. And you are in the delivery side of things. You're in the fulfillment side of things. You're in the accounting side of things. You're in the marketing. If you're in marketing in a company, doesn't mean you know how to market. You just know how to perhaps create a few nice ads up together, but you're not responsible for the results of your actions.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest part in entrepreneurship.
I've even
You're immediately responsible for the results of your actions.
heard about I think it might have been Mark Cuban that said it. He's like, I could sell anything I wanted, even if it was useless. It's the positioning and the marketing. If you can get someone to believe that they need it, they will buy it.
Exactly. That's why marketing, I think, is one of the underestimated powers of the world here, because most people think about sales. Sales is great. Sales is very, very important, just as important, because but
Sales only come if you have good advertising.
like if you have good marketing. Like, look at Apple for years. Now they have stores everywhere, but they were already a multi-billion-dollar company without any stores. So people would come and want Apple because their marketing was so good. And the best marketing is mouth to mouth, word of mouth, not mouth to mouth. That's word of mouth marketing, and so that's the thing. But back to the first one, if I want to talk about the first one, it's entrepreneurship is hard.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody cheers for you. At the end of the beginning, some friends and family say like, "Yeah, great idea," and so on. It's it's eat what you hunt at the beginning, at least. It's draining. It is you spend countless hours designing stuff without any kind of designing marketing campaigns, designing advertising, designing the product, designing without any kind of without anyone saying like, "Well, great job" or so. And a lot of people just simply give up, I think.
Yeah.
And then on top of it, if they're not good at marketing and they're not good at sales, they run out of cash. So really on the surface level, I think it's often said that businesses shut their doors because they run out of cash. But let's look at a restaurant. Restaurants have a 90% failure rate.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why is that? Well, some because they have bad food, okay. But some are actually successful in spite of having good food because they don't understand how to position themselves and have customers coming to the door. Perhaps they
Constant.
have good food but bad service. And who wants to go back to a restaurant with bad service?
Not me.
Nobody. And not me either, right? So you look at those things, there's so many different factors, but then at the end of the day, what they say, like, well, we ran out of cash. So I think ran out of cash is often only a surface reason that covers deeper reasons behind it.
Which are that you
Which are product quality, service quality, customer service. I mean, it's the same as service, customer service, warranties, utility, all this kind of things. Like, again, we remember a lady that cooked really, really well. We went to her birthday party, actually a friend of yours,
Yeah.
and then she set up this restaurant herself, and she cooked, and the mixture wasn't right. It was Thai food, and very original Thai food, not Americanized Thai food.
Yeah.
So there were some really weird dishes on the menu that most Americans just don't order. But at the same time, it was the design of the place was a design that was very much a cocktail bar.
Yeah.
So you have a cocktail bar with
traditional
weird, and I mean weird not in a bad way, but like food that I've never seen in my life. Right?
Yeah.
And that just wasn't a good combination. So product placement, positioning in the market, all of these things, and at the end they ran out of cash, and they're like, well, we failed because we had poor management, or in this case was also poor management because it was a combination. They ran out of, their service was very inconsistent. One day you had great service, the next day you had really poor service. And that's why restaurants like McDonald's succeed, and restaurants like Cheesecake Factory
because you know exactly what you're gonna get every
single time.
Yeah.
So I think
whether that's a good, like, because we don't really like McDonald's, but it's the consistency aspect. So it will attract those that.
you know exactly. You know why Marriott succeeds and other hotels fail? Because when we go travel, if you're somewhere out there college visiting with you, we're staying at Marriott's, because if you're in the middle of nowhere in some smaller college town, they don't have they have a few weird named hotels, and they have a Hilton something or a Marriott something. We always pick the Marriott something because you always know what you get. It's not the best, it's not the worst, it's middle of the road, clean, reliable. Right?
Yep.
That's a market position to be in, and most people don't even think about what position they want to be in the market.
Like, not even, they forget about it or something?
It's not even something that, like, nobody's taught how to run a business.
Yeah, someone's just excited about the product, but they don't think of the other.
They set up so in the restaurant, they set up this upscale cocktail bar with really hole-in-the-wall original Thai food. And the people who come there, they expected high-end Thai food.
Yeah.
And it was really good Thai food, but it was a completely non-matching kind of thing. So people didn't know what to do with it, so therefore they didn't go.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to position herself in any product that you do. You want to have a idea of, like, who do you want to be in this market? Who do you want to serve in this market? And none of these things are taught anywhere in the market.
Yeah.
Other than a business school. But most people start a business don't have a business degree.
And then also adding on to that, I feel like it could also be, who do you want your customer to be?
Yeah, that's right.
Or that also goes with the market, I guess.
No, but that's a good point. What do you mean by that?
Like avatar? I've heard that throughout the house. Like, who is your ideal customer?
There's your ideal, who do you want to serve? And that goes with price point.
Mm-hmm.
That goes with those kind of things. If you have
But people forget about that.
Yeah.
I feel like
there's a lot of factors to make a business successful. And if you just get a couple of them wrong, it's often the end of the business.
So the couple of them were product,
pricing, obviously, marketing,
placement,
avatar, placement, again, then management for sure, customer service, and customer service plays a role in everything. Like you have.
I know the U.S. specifically too is big on customer service.
But even there's like let's take real estate. Let's take Airbnb. Most people don't understand that an Airbnb is really a mini hotel.
Yeah.
So they treat their Airbnb as their home that they have of the
You get to
kindness of
go.
the house.
You get to stay
You
there.
get to stay there. And by the way, on the way out, please put your clothes into the dishwasher, put your clothes into the washer, your dishes into the dishwasher, turn it on, turn off the air condition, do this, let the dogs out, and things like that. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
it's like,
not necessary.
no.
You know what I mean? And no wonder people don't want to stay there again,
Mm-hmm.
because they chose between a hotel where everything is done for them, or they break something, and now they're like, oh, you got to pay for that. Well, what happens in the hotel if you break something by mistake? Not you have a wild party and you trash the room, then you'll pay for it, right?
Yeah.
But if you just you go in there and the bed breaks, I like where was that side look? Teenager here, yeah. But what if the sink breaks or something? Something falls in the sink and it breaks.
Yeah.
The hotel is going to actually apologize, move you into another room, and fix the sink, and they're never going to invoice you for it.
Uh-huh. Unless it is your fault, and then they'll quietly invoice you.
No, not even if it's your fault. Unless again, it's like purposely done. You trash the room.
Yeah.
Then of course they're gonna invoice you. Like some of the rock bands, they're known to like having trashed drink, and then they're getting a $50,000 bill because they trashed the room.
Right.
That's not what I'm talking about. But a lot of the people, if you are, we have an Airbnb and we're in Airbnb Facebook groups. A lot of the people, they're like get all riled up about because something happened. A chair broke. They're like, should I invoice them for it? Well, what if your chair in your hotel room breaks? Would the hotel invoice you? No, they would apologize for it.
Yeah.
Right? So people run Airbnbs with the attitude of a homeowner, not the attitude of a business owner. And people run restaurants that way, and people run services like that, and that's the death of a business. You can't run businesses like that. You have to run them with the customer inside. Of course, don't get abused by the customer, but at the same time, with the customer in mind and really servicing the customer.
Thank you. Okay. So
then the question is, if they do it successful, why do some businesses still last 10 years?
why don't
Why do they? Some of them
do they? Because they've figured out and tweaked it.
Or why do some of them fail
No.
after between 5 and 10 years?
Okay, between 1 and 5 years. 1, I'm guessing, is just startup costs. Or like they're
And they
not.
just realized it's not for them. Right?
Yeah.
So,
1 and
there's
5.
a lot of people that start a business and they realize, holy crap, this is way harder than I thought.
Yeah, let me not.
This is
They give up.
a completely different ball game. I'm not made for this. Let me go back into the job world.
Yeah,
where
1 and 5.
Let's see payment every paycheck every 2 weeks, and life is good. Right?
Yeah, 1 and 5. They decide, okay, I'm gonna stick with it, see what happens. If they're able to get somewhere, they might make it to the 5 to 10. But then at that point, it's I think once you start getting into the 5 to 10, that gives the market, or whatever market you're in, it's always going to come with challenges. And I have heard that every so often, every couple of years, something changes within every market.
Mm-hmm.
Something changes, and my guess is like you're not able to adapt to it, or you're not able to pivot. And you just end up falling into a hole that you can't get out.
Yeah, industry changes are definitely a big reason. Absolutely. And sometimes industry changes are just making industry obsolete. And then if you can't pivot and change fast enough, you're out of business. But I think also at that point, some people get burned out at that point because they don't know how to pivot, and they're just trying and trying and trying and trying. And that, I think, goes then with the next reason, which is that they're not able to increase their ability as managers. There's something in business that says the person that runs a $1 million business, so that it's like for a business above $1 million, you need to do the exact opposite things on a day-to-day basis as when you build the business from 0 to $1 million.
Okay.
So from 0 to $1 million, you do everything yourself or a lot of it yourself. And then to get from 1 to 10, you can't do anything yourself anymore. You have to give it all to other people. So your role in the company completely changes, and some people are not ready for that. So as a result, they always have a one-man show or one-woman show business, And at some point of time, they get worn out. The other thing is to set that a person that runs a $10 million business is mostly not the same person that runs a $100 million business. Because in order to go from 10 to $100 million, you need to completely change as a person and as a leader and as a influencer and as a manager. And you really need to go from like one-man show to manager to leader through that process. And many people don't make that jump. So they're basically hitting their head against the wall of growth and of certain ceilings, or like Mama calls it, ceilings of complexity from her coaching, Dan Solomon. And you can't get through them. And I think after some years, people then just wear out and they
Give up.
give up.
Yeah. My next question is, okay, so if all of these is there a way to come back from the failure? Or like there's obviously like pivoting, like the business fails, say the business fails. Is there a way to somehow come back from that? Or like, yeah,
In the
obviously.
same business, well, yeah. I mean, there's lots of people that have failed many, many times. I think now we're getting into more the psychology of the human being, because I think it depends on how you look at the failure. If you look at the failure as something that happens to you and that you're just not made out of that, and that is just not your world, and you adopt that identity that you are a failure because you failed, then you're going to crawl back into your hole, get a job somewhere, and just basically lick your wounds for the rest of your life and never try again. If you, on the other hand, look at that and says, hey, I made it for a year and a half before I just couldn't make it further, and I think the reasons were XYZ. Let me work on those things. Let me learn from them, and perhaps realize that for that kind of business to succeed, I need to become really good at sales, but I'm an introvert. So for the next kind of business, let me team up with somebody that's a really good extrovert salesperson. Then all of a sudden, you actually become much better at the second business because you have understood what your weaknesses are, where you failed, why you failed. You learn to fill those gaps.
Yeah.
And as a result, you're now much better. It's like driving a bicycle. The very first time you drive a bicycle, you're going to fall all the time. And you're not going to say, nobody ever says, well, I wasn't made for a bicycle. I guess I'm not a bicycle rider. Just not me, right? So I go back, like I tried bicycle riding. It's not for me. Like it's this walking thing for babies. It's not for me. I fell down. Nobody said that ever. You just figure out what you need to adjust in order to ride a bicycle, and then soon enough, you're doing wheelies on your bike. Not that I've ever done it.
Uh-huh. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, Papa, my last question for today is, you personally, did you fail before you actually became successful? Or how many times did you fail? Like,
I failed. I never failed. Of course. Just kidding. Of course we failed. Both Mom and I, we tried our land flipping strategy, or we tried to get into real estate for like 3 years, and it was constant failure. And I think that goes to
but was it the house?
First we decided to get into real estate, and then we started learning about it. And I think we learned about wholesaling houses, and wholesaling houses, basically, one of the strategies that are being taught is driving for dollars. I mean, it's like you get in the car and you drive around to all kinds of, like, usually middle of the road neighborhoods, or lower income neighborhoods, and you try to find, but not bad neighborhoods, and try to find houses that are boarded up and have the grass that tall, and they're obviously abandoned. And then you basically find out who is the owner. You contact the owner and try to negotiate a deal with them. And we found some. To our surprise, we drove around and we found, in not so bad neighborhood, or so we thought, some boarded up houses. And we contacted them, and we actually got got them under contract, but then we didn't know anything about real estate, so we had no idea what it costs to upgrade a kitchen. We had no idea what it costs to upgrade electric, to fix the roof, the thing. So we put all the wrong numbers on that thing, therefore made the wrong offer, therefore got it under contract, but therefore couldn't sell it. So here's the thing. So we failed, right? But again, goes back to the earlier thing. It depends on how you look at failure. What we looked at failure was, hey, we got that far. That means there is something here. We just didn't know how to estimate repairs. So if we learn that, then we can next time around, we can get it right. So it's more like there's the goal, and the goal is not a straight shot. It's like, yeah, you gotta make some adjustments on that. And so, but we failed. And the next thing is we tried to buy like some tax liens, and we failed, or we bought them and they were redeemed right away. And tax deeds, we tried to buy those. And Michelle, I sent Michelle with MapQuest and then
what are tax liens?
Tax liens is when you buy when somebody doesn't pay their property taxes. In some states, like Arizona, for example, the government doesn't wait for the taxes to come in. Basically, if you don't pay them, they're not going to be like, they're going to send you letters that say like, pay your taxes. But if you don't, they're actually going to put a lien against it. So basically, you say like, put something on, record it in the county recorder's office that you owe that money, and then they're going to sell that lien to an investor. So somebody else pays your property taxes, and therefore that person after 3 years can foreclose on your property. Which of course you don't want to. So in that moment, you're probably going to pay back the property taxes, so the investor gets the money with interest. But all along, the county got their money already. So the county didn't have to wait for the money.
Yeah.
So these tax lien auctions, though, they're happening annually.
Got it.
And in some states, they're happening monthly and so on. And you can attend, and usually annual, and you can attend and buy them. So we bought some liens thinking, hey, with these liens, we're going to hold them and then we're going to foreclose on them. And then 3 weeks later, they paid them off. And we're like, great. Now we have our money back, but we don't have a piece of real estate. So we failed again. But from that, we asked some questions. And I think that's the most important part. You always want to ask yourself the question of like, what can I learn from this? And I think that thing, the fact that there was tax deed and then tax deed auctions where they actually sell the actual properties at the auction, and the fact that Michelle went out there with a few $1,000s and was outbid and lost, and we didn't, and she came back with nothing. That was some of the best thing that could have happened to us.
Yeah.
Because afterwards we ask ourselves the question, well, what's going on here? Apparently there's an auction. People are bidding a lot of money for these properties, but the owners have given up on their properties. They're letting them go. And out of that came our approach to actually contact these people directly, the people that haven't paid property taxes. And that was the beginning of our land investing strategy that ultimately led us to success. So the failure led to success. But the same question to you: when you did your first land deal, how many times did you fail on those deals?
So many times.
Yeah. There we go. Now, the thing is, what did you learn from those?
I learned that I need to get better at like the picking the counties, figure out a different strategy maybe. Or I also learned how to correctly now give an offer, how to talk to people on the phone.
Okay, yeah.
Because actually talking to the people, one person just flat out hung up on me. So I was like, okay, maybe not like that. The next person I was able to actually communicate with, but it was one thing after another.
Yeah. And
didn't
then
go
ultimately, once you had those things dialed in, boom, deal came in,
Yep.
and you made $30,000-$40,000 or something like that on that deal, right? So now you know, and that's the thing. Some people, they never get that success, and if it takes too long, they end up giving up, or they run out of money, or they don't know where to put the money. They spend money for just the wrong stuff, and then then all of a sudden they're out of money, or once all of a sudden the money's gone, and they have nothing left to actually bring the product to market. And so on. So there's a million reasons, but yeah, we have failed too, and luckily every single time we learned. And in our particular case, I think the desire to break out from the 8 to 5 job world, and my consulting being, and Michelle being in finance and things, the desire was so strong that even though we had failure, we
It
just
didn't.
kept back going out. Every time we failed, sometimes we gave it up for 2-3 months. We're just like, screw that, doesn't work. We focused on what we were doing again. But then we're like, no, there's gotta be a way. And then so we came back and we looked at what did we do wrong? What should we do better? And as long if you keep going that, as long as that desire is big enough, you'll ultimately succeed.
Okay. So just to sum it all up, so the biggest reasons why is the product, then it's the management, then it's the customer service, or what was it?
Customer care, customer service. I mean,
Customer
we live in
care.
a world where people
Or like your
share their experience left and right.
market, yeah. And then it's having that desire, or like having a strong desire. If you don't have that strong desire to actually continue it, then you're just gonna give up practically.
I agree with that.
Okay. Well, thank you for chatting with me a little bit.
Done, sweetheart.
I appreciate your input. If you like this episode, please give it a 5-star review. Share it with a loved one in your life, a woman in your life, and see you on the next episode.
And I wonder how